You'd think the biggest gold coin in the world would be locked away in some top-secret vault, right? Well, not this one. This absolute beast of a coin is proudly displayed by the Perth Mint in Australia. We're talking about a solid gold coin that weighs over 2,200 pounds, a full 1 metric ton. That's roughly the weight of a small car made entirely of 99.99% pure gold. And yes, it's legal tender. You could use it to buy something, technically. The face value stamped on it is 1 million Australian dollars, but its actual gold value easily over $50 million depending on the market. The coin was minted in 2011 and features an iconic image, a bounding red kangaroo on one side and Queen Elizabeth II on the other. Every little detail is flawless. Ultra-high relief, polished surfaces, and edges that could probably slice through steel if it ever rolled your way. It took 18 months to design, cast, and finish, no shortcuts. Now here's something wild. Check out this photo. It's been circulating in collector circles that a new coin might be in the works, something even bigger than the Australian kangaroo. This massive disc was spotted being hoisted by a construction crane, and some insiders say it could challenge the current record. It's still under wraps, but if this turns out to be a real minting project, Australia may have a new rival. Back to the kangaroo though, this isn't just a showpiece, it was created as a flex. A yes, we can moment from the Perth Mint, proving they could do something no other mint dared to try, and it worked. Tourists still flock to see it in person. You don't need to know anything about coins to be impressed when you're staring at 2,200 pounds of glittering gold. This coin isn't just massive, it redefined what was possible in the world of minting. Not all coins are round. Some look like miniature pieces of art, or, in Somalia's case, miniature rock history. In 2004, Somalia released one of the strangest series ever minted legal tender coins, shaped like electric guitars. That's right. These coins don't just have guitars printed on them, they are guitars. There's a red Gibson Flying V, a Fender Stratocaster, even a Les Paul, each one about the size of a regular coin, but with full body curves, tuning pegs, and strings engraved right onto the metal. They were part of a 6-coin series celebrating 50 years of rock and roll, and they're made from cupronical, giving them that shiny, silvery look. And yes, they're real currency. Technically worth $1 in Somalia. Though no one's using them at the store, collectors grab them up fast. The unusual shape makes them nearly impossible to stack, so forget rolling them into a vending machine. These are coins made to be shown off. It's one of those things that makes you pause and wonder, what even counts as money anymore? Speaking of strange collectible money, let's head into the future. Long before Bitcoin hit mainstream media, before crypto apps filled your phone, there was a physical Bitcoin you could actually hold in your hand. These were called Cassasius coins, and they were wild. Created by Mike Caldwell between 2011 and 2013, each coin had a unique feature. A real Bitcoin stored inside. On the outside, they looked like brass or gold-plated tokens with the Bitcoin logo stamped right in the center. But underneath a tamper-evident hologram on the back, a hidden private key, your access code to the actual Bitcoin value. Some of them held 1 BTC, others 5, even 100 in rare cases. Back then, Bitcoin was trading at a few dollars. Today, one of those physical coins could be worth tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on how much BTC it held. The moment you peel the hologram, the coin is spent, so unopened ones are now part of crypto legend. Only about 27,000 of these coins were made before the series stopped. And now they're a collector's dream, part money, part time capsule, part tech artifact. It's like a gold coin for the digital age. Except you can actually lose the value if you misplace the code. Next, let's talk about the coin that sold for nearly $19 million. And why owning it once almost landed someone in serious legal trouble. It's just a $20 coin, or at least that's what it says on the surface, but the 1933 Double Eagle is no ordinary piece of pocket change. This coin sold at auction in 2021 for an unbelievable $18.9 million, setting the record for the most expensive coin ever sold. What makes it so valuable? Well, the US Mint produced around 445,000 of these gold coins in 1933, but not a single one ever entered circulation. President Franklin D. Roosevelt took the country off the gold standard, and all those freshly minted coins were ordered to be melted down. All but a few were destroyed. A couple slipped through illegally and became the stuff of legend. For years, owning a 1933 Double Eagle was considered a federal crime. One coin ended up in the hands of King Farouk of Egypt. It took decades of legal wrangling before a single specimen was finally cleared for private ownership. That's the one that broke records. The design is just as impressive as the story. Lady Liberty strides forward with a torch in one hand, an olive branch in the other. The reverse shows a flying eagle and rising sun. It's not just beautiful, it's a piece of US history that survived a government recall, international smuggling, and FBI investigations. And if you think that's mind-blowing, wait until you see how hyperinflation can turn money into something completely meaningless. Note can't buy you lunch. You've heard of collectible coins, you've heard of decorative ones, but how about a coin that can actually tell time? Enter Palau's sundial coin, one of the most unusual coins ever minted. It's a legal tender silver coin with a fully functional ancient-style sundial built right into it. Not a design of a sundial, an actual sundial that can tell the time if you position it under sunlight just right. Yes, it works. This modern coin pays tribute to ancient navigation and timekeeping methods. It features raised hour markers and a detachable gnomon, which is the part that casts a shadow. Put it together, align it properly, and you've got yourself the most low-tech timepiece with a face value. What's even more surprising is that this is legal currency. Issued by the island nation of Palau, known for its creative coin designs, this piece is worth $5 face value but trades for far more among collectors. It blends functionality with artistry in a way that turns a simple coin into a miniature scientific instrument. In an age of digital everything, this tiny throwback to analog technology somehow feels futuristic again. And speaking of blending tradition with innovation, Switzerland took it to a whole new level with their banknote. The Swiss 100-franc note is still one of the most high-tech pieces of paper you'll ever hold. Released in 2019, this bill has over 15 advanced security features packed into it, from color-shifting ink to ultraviolet patterns to tiny transparent windows embedded right in the polymer. Unlike most bills, this one is printed vertically. It's sleek, modern, and designed to highlight Switzerland's humanitarian tradition through its water theme. On the front, a pair of hands catches flowing water. On the back, an irrigation channel winds through alpine terrain, showing how something as simple as water can be a powerful force for good. But what makes this banknote really stand out isn't just the theme or layout, it's the engineering. The Swiss National Bank spent years perfecting a note that was hard to counterfeit and nearly impossible to destroy. These things are practically tear-proof, water-resistant, and can survive being run through a washing machine or frozen solid. It won Banknote of the Year for good reason. Most countries are just now switching to polymer, but Switzerland took that idea and ran with it, turning a piece of currency into something you could almost call futuristic. Some bills are big in value. This one is big in size, literally. In 1998, the Philippines released the largest legal banknote ever printed, the 100,000 peso note, not in denomination but in sheer physical size. It measures 14 inches wide and 8.5 inches tall, about the size of a legal sheet of paper. This note wasn't made for circulation. It was a commemorative issue, celebrating the 100th anniversary of Philippine independence from Spanish rule. Only 1,000 were printed, and each one is packed with historical details. On the front, you'll see imagery from the Declaration of Independence and key revolutionary figures. On the back, a visual timeline of the country's journey toward self-rule. What makes this bill so impressive isn't just its size, though that's hard to ignore. It's the fact that it's real legal tender, worth 100,000 pesos, about $1,700 at the time. You could technically spend it, though no one ever would. Collectors keep them sealed, preserved like artifacts. Printing something this large was no small feat. The Banco Central ng Pilipinas had to use special techniques to preserve the fine detail at scale. It was a statement not just of currency, but of national pride. Now, from the largest piece of paper money ever made, to the heaviest and most mysterious form of currency ever used. Off the coast of Micronesia, there exists one of the strangest and most mysterious currencies ever used, the rye stones of Yap Island. These aren't coins or bills or anything you can slide into a pocket. They're massive limestone discs, some as wide as 12 feet and weighing over 4 tons. Yes, that's money. Locals used these enormous stone wheels as a form of currency for centuries. But what's wild is how the value was determined, not by size alone, but by how dangerous the journey was to bring the stone back. The riskier the voyage, the more valuable the stone. What's even stranger is that most rye stones were never moved once placed. Ownership changed hands during marriages, dowries, or tribal deals, but the stones stayed put. People just knew who owned which rock. No receipts, no ledgers, just collective memory. Now here's where it gets weird. Some researchers believe the tradition may go beyond economics. The positioning of the stones, some say, follows celestial patterns. Others have even suggested outside influence, hinting at possible links to ancient navigation systems that are still not fully understood. It's money. It's art. It's possibly something else entirely. No one can fully explain how a society created an economy based on immovable stones and mental accounting. But one thing's certain. Rye stones are unlike anything else on Earth. It started with a walk and ended with a $10 million treasure. In 2013, a couple in Northern California was strolling through their property when they spotted a rusty metal can poking out of the dirt. What they dug up turned out to be one of the biggest coin discoveries in American history, now known as the Saddle Ridge Hoard. Inside that can, and several others buried nearby, were 1,427 gold coins, most of them in near mint condition. Some dated back to the 1840s, others were from the gold rush era, all of them authentic US currency. Many were rare, and some had never been seen in that pristine state before. What makes this story so fascinating isn't just the value, though that was huge, but the fact that no one knows for sure who buried the stash. Theories range from bank robbers to miners to a secret government deposit, but nothing's been confirmed. The hoard was buried in rusted cans about a foot below the surface. For decades it was sitting there, right under people's feet. The couple chose to stay anonymous, but they allowed the coins to be authenticated and auctioned off. Today they're scattered in private collections. One moment they were taking a walk, the next, they were sitting on a fortune. Talk about striking gold. The British pound sterling holds the title of the world's oldest currency still in use, dating all the way back to the 8th century. That's over 1,200 years of continuous history. Originally it referred to a pound of silver, literally. Back then coins were just chunks of precious metal, and 1 pound sterling was the weight of 240 silver pennies. The term sterling likely came from the Old English steora, meaning star, which early coins had stamped on them. The currency evolved over centuries, surviving monarchs, empires, wars, revolutions, and financial crashes. Today's pound coins are modern, durable, and packed with anti-counterfeiting tech, but they're still linked to that ancient lineage. It's also one of the few currencies that's never been rebranded. Most others have been renamed, dropped, or replaced, but the pound held strong. Even when the UK had the chance to adopt the euro, it chose to keep its iconic currency. That kind of staying power is rare. In a world where money comes and goes, the pound sterling is a survivor. It's not just the backbone of British commerce, it's a living artifact of economic history that's still buying lunch in 2025. Counterfeit bills have been around for centuries, but one fake hit so close to perfection that it spooked governments, not just banks. Meet the superdollar, an incredibly detailed counterfeit version of the US $100 bill. What made it terrifying was how advanced it was. These notes had the correct paper feel, perfect color-shifting ink, accurate watermarks, and even microscopic details that fooled most machines and even some trained professionals. Authorities confirmed they weren't made by amateurs. Some believe a state-sponsored operation was behind it, with fingers pointed at North Korea, though proof remains elusive. The Secret Service spent years tracking these notes, which were believed to have been printed on intaglio presses, the same type used by actual government mints. The name superdollar wasn't a compliment, it was a warning. These weren't just fakes, they were close to indistinguishable from the real thing. To combat it, the US redesigned the $100 bill multiple times, adding color layers, 3D security ribbons, and embedded fibers. And while most counterfeiters stick to small bills, the superdollar went straight for the most commonly used note in global trade, the 100. It wasn't just a financial threat, it was a reminder of how fragile trust in paper money really is. It doesn't glitter like gold, and it wasn't struck in huge numbers. But the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar is widely considered the rarest and most historically important coin in American numismatics. It's believed to be the first silver dollar ever minted by the US government and possibly the very first one ever struck. Only about 1,758 of these coins were produced in total. Fewer than 150 are known to still exist today. And out of those, only one stands out above the rest, a remarkably sharp, well-preserved example that sold for over $10 million at auction. The design is classic. On the front, Liberty's hair flows freely in the wind, symbolizing a young nation's ideals. On the back, an eagle spreads its wings inside a wreath. It's not flashy, it's not oversized, but it captures a moment in time when the United States was just beginning to define its identity. Collectors don't just see this coin as rare, they see it as the birth of American money, the prototype for all that followed. The coin's origin, its age, and its perfect preservation have made it almost mythical. It's a piece of metal that fits in your palm, yet it carries the weight of an entire country's financial beginning. Long before modern paper currency took over the world, the Chinese were already way ahead of the game. In the 11th century, during the Song dynasty, they introduced something revolutionary: the jiaozi, considered the oldest known banknote in human history. These early notes were printed on mulberry bark paper and issued by merchants as a more convenient alternative to heavy copper coins. They weren't backed by gold or silver, but by trust and official seals from the local government. Each jiaozi carried a unique stamp and signature for authentication. Some even had expiration dates, which might sound strange now, but it was their way of managing circulation. Visually, they look ancient: calligraphic Chinese script, government stamps, and a rectangular shape that resembles a scroll more than a bill. But this wasn't a gimmick or a novelty. It was a serious financial innovation that laid the foundation for paper money as we know it. The concept was so effective it spread through Asia, and eventually to Europe centuries later. While very few original jiaozi notes survive today, those that do are priceless artifacts, preserved in museums and historical archives. They're proof that over 1,000 years ago, China already understood something we still rely on today: money doesn't have to shine to work. If you drop this coin on the floor, you might lose it forever. The Indian quarter dam, minted during the reign of Mughal Emperor Akbar in the 16th century, is often cited as the smallest coin ever struck for circulation. These copper coins were roughly the size of a pencil eraser and weighed less than a gram. Despite their tiny form, the level of craftsmanship is stunning. Many have detailed Persian inscriptions carved into their surface. Minting them required an incredible level of precision, especially considering the technology of the time. They weren't novelty items. These coins were part of everyday transactions used by merchants and traders across India. They represent a time when even the smallest denominations were taken seriously and minted with care. Today, collectors prize them not just for rarity, but for the challenge of reading the microscopic script. The Indian quarter dam proves that in the world of money, smaller can sometimes mean more impressive. Yes, the US once printed $1,000 bills, and one of them holds the record for the most valuable banknote ever sold. It's nicknamed the Grand Watermelon, and no, it's not because it's green and juicy. The nickname comes from the design on the back: big, round zeros that look like, well, watermelons. Only 7 of these 1890 treasury notes are known to exist, and the best preserved one sold for over $3 million at auction. It featured ornate engravings, brilliant inkwork, and a portrait of Edwin Stanton, Abraham Lincoln's Secretary of War. What made it so valuable wasn't just rarity. It was condition, history, and collector demand. This note was never meant for common use. It circulated mainly between banks, but a few slipped into private hands, and when they did, they became legends. The Grand Watermelon is the kind of bill that bridges the gap between fine art and finance. You probably wouldn't use it to pay for groceries, but it might buy you a house, or 3. Before dollars, before denarii, before even the Greek drachma, there was the Lydian lion. Struck around 600 BC in what's now Western Turkey, This small electrum coin is widely believed to be the world's first minted currency. It was made from a naturally occurring gold-silver alloy called electrum, and stamped with the image of a roaring lion, the symbol of the Lydian king. Each coin was roughly bean-sized and weighed carefully to match specific trade values. It didn't have a face value printed on it, but merchants knew its worth by weight and material. This wasn't just a random token, it marked a revolution. For the first time, trade didn't require weighing chunks of metal. People could carry coins, trust their value, and make deals faster. The Lydian lion was the spark that lit the fire of global commerce. Holding one today is like holding the start of money itself. It's ancient, it's primitive, but it changed the world. In a world where paper notes were constantly wearing out, tearing, or getting counterfeited, Australia flipped the script. In 1988, to mark its bicentennial, the country launched the world's first polymer banknote, a futuristic, flexible, waterproof $10 bill that changed the game forever. At first glance, the note looked like any other. It had bright colors, complex patterns, and portraits of historic figures. But hold it up to the light, and you'd see the real magic, a clear window embedded into the note, a feature never seen before. That one detail made counterfeiting nearly impossible at the time. It was a bold experiment. Traditional banknotes wore out in months. These polymer notes? They could survive years in circulation, resist water, and endure intense climates. Perfect for Australia's heat and humidity. Other countries watched closely. Today, more than 50 nations have followed Australia's lead, issuing polymer banknotes of their own. What started as a curiosity became the new global standard. That 1988 $10 bill wasn't just a piece of currency, it was a turning point. A moment when money stopped being just paper and started becoming technology, a quiet revolution you could fold in your pocket. That's about it. Which coin or banknote surprised you the most? Write in the comments. For more useful information, watch other videos.